I'm going to show you exactly how we added $264,000 to this THC beverage company in just 90 days. And we didn't have any new ad spend and we didn't have any margin killing discount. And so if you take a look at this screenshot here from April 7th to July 7th, which is 3 months, we were able to add them. It's actually $268,000 out of $472,000 that they made total. And so these are regular attribution numbers inside of Klaviyo. But I want to kind of share where this brand currently was before we initially got on with them. So they were doing about $35,000 a month, which was decent at the time. I think they were getting about like 20% of total email or total revenue coming from email. Now, the thing was that actually surprised me with this brand is they were sending 5 times a week, which is way higher than most brands send. I mean, most brands send, 2 times a week. I recommend 3 to 4, but they were sending more emails than they should have been to be at that number. The thing is that their flows were barely working. And what I mean by this is they had a couple of the automations set up, which wasn't the problem. It was the actual templates that they were using from Klaviyo. They just kind of propped up some branding into there and then just left it generic and never touched it again. Their subject lines were terribly long, so they would get cut off in the inbox. Things like that. It was just very little details that ended up making this email channel underperform. Their pop-up form was converting only about 3% of site visitors. There was a ton wrong with that, which we'll get into. And then the segmentation was probably the worst part about this all. It was so complex that most of the list never even got to see the emails and led to not being able to buy. And so in hindsight, it looked like they were working hard and almost nothing was converting. And we can see this screenshot here from February to March. They were only doing about $35,000, so see about 28% revenue was down, and then we came on to them like I think March 23rd or something like that. And so what we did in 90 days, we were able to add an extra $268,000 through email alone. Again, no new ad spend, no margin killing discounts. We had 5 exact changes in order that I'm going to give to you today, and $80,000 of this came from one thing alone, and it has to do with our automation. So I'm going to give you the sauce on that as well. And so if you want me to audit your email channel completely for free, if you're a brand doing above $70,000 a month, I'll personally audit your email account, where you're leaking revenue, your custom roadmap, and how we would fix it for you, flows, campaigns, sign up form, all of that. First link in the description. You can click it. It's completely free. Okay, so number one, the first thing we did was rebuild their pop-up form. And so this is going to be the fuel to the fire in any single brand. Nothing works if new people are not going to be joining the list every single day. And what I commonly see is most brands, they overcomplicate the hell out of this because they add in a bunch of fluff. They add in things like micro commitments, exclusive news, all of that. And what we specifically did was cut every single piece of that out. Straight opt-in with a 10% off and a 6-second pop-up delay. So it literally was just, you've got 10% off, enter your email, and then claim my 10% off. That was literally the form with a lifestyle image that performed better. And so something else we did, we removed the actual X and we actually added a cost to saying no. So that typical X that's in the top right corner, nowadays, every single brand has that. And so what you were doing is essentially people are trained now to just, as soon as they see their screen lag a little bit, they go to the top right and they hit that X button. And so what we did is we just added a simple cost to that by saying, no thanks, I'll pay full price underneath the button that says claim my 10% off. And so what it was is they were actively choosing to pay more now. It made it seem like, okay, if I do not put my email in here, I'm going to end up ordering, but I'm not going to save 10%, so I might as well just put my email in. So that was something that we did. It was just a simple reframe. And then what we did is we split email and phone into 2 separate steps. So a lot of brands, they'll ask for the name, the email, and the phone in one step. The problem with that is people see that and they think this is so much that I have to do. I'm just going to go ahead and skip all of it. Forget it. It's not worth it. And so literally here, after the email, the next page asked for the phone number. So finish signing up to activate your discount is how we framed it. So now it made it seem like, okay, in order for me to finish getting my discount, I need to put in my email number. Now, the thing is you were going to get the email either way with your discount code. You just wouldn't get the SMS. And so we added a success page after that. You're all set. Check your inbox for your code. And so something we got asked specifically by them is, won't asking for the phone number scare people off? And what we pretty much responded is no, the email is already captured again, so you lose nothing, right? We still have them as an email subscriber. We just don't have their SMS, but we have the main touch point, which is email in this case. And so the result, about 1 in every 10 site visitors became an email subscriber, which was pretty good. So change number 2 that made a drastic impact on the whole email channel was building out proper flows. And so essentially what a flow is going to do is fill in the cracks that customers can fall through. Let's say someone views the site and leaves, maybe they add to their cart and then they get distracted. Flow catches every one of those moments automatically and then enrolls them into a sequence of emails that is just essentially automated, right? And so we fill out the content, make sure that we're handling objections, all that, which we'll go into right now. And so what this added was about $80,000 out of the $264,000. It was automated revenue, whether you sent a campaign that week or not. And so as we can take a look at some of the numbers here, this was on a week 1 average. So week 1 of this going live, we generated $13,000 in revenue for them for their welcome flow, which I believe before they were only doing like $4,000. So already off the bat, skyrocketed. We had checkout abandonment, which was only doing, I think, about $800. Now it was doing about $3,800 in the first week. So as you can see, like we were actually building this stuff out, getting the right content in front of these people. And to our surprise, it converted, right? And so it wasn't really rocket science, and I'm going to give you the 7 flows that we actually set up so that you can understand exactly what you should set up for your CPG brand. So 7 flows, we had the welcome, we had the site abandonment, we had the browse abandonment, we had cart abandonment, checkout abandonment, post-purchase, and then the win back. Every single flow had about 5 to 7 emails each, and every email was essentially built around a specific objection at that stage. So when you think about site abandonment, for example, they viewed the site, they didn't view any products. What could get them to come back? Well, let's maybe show them some bestsellers, right? Browse abandonment. They were browsing our site. They browsed a few products, but they didn't end up adding anything to their cart. They weren't interested enough. So what are they probably doing? Taking a look at other brands. Maybe they're shopping on Amazon. They're finding different ways they can get this product either for cheaper or better. So what we need to do is hit them with relevant content around that, right? So same thing with cart and checkout, post-purchase, all that kind of stuff. And so these are 2 plays that we ran inside of them that made a significant difference. So inside of our site abandonment flow, we added a conditional split in Klaviyo. So viewed the site, but they did not order, they would get a plain text email from the founder with a welcome offer and a PS recommendation that was their personal one. And then the switch that we did was cart plus checkout abandonment email number 1 subject line. So what we ended up saying was your order is ready to ship rather than beating that generic you left something behind email. It reads like good news and it's not necessarily a guilt trip. And what I specifically mean by that is like if someone sees in their inbox, your order is ready to ship, they're going to think, hey, let me go place that order, or hey, I forgot to place that order, right? Rather than if you left something behind, they're just going to ignore it. Like they know exactly what is going on. And so they're not going to open the email or even click inside of it and see our actual objection handling that we're doing inside of that email and sharing with them. So those flows added about $80,000 on their own in the 90 days with, again, 0 extra ad spend. All we had to do was obviously just touch the pop-up form to get the flows running. Like I said, the fuel to the fire. And so again, if you're a brand doing above $75,000 per month, you want me to audit and find where your flows and campaigns are leaking money, book the call using the first link in the description. Cool. Change number 3, we had sent fewer emails. So I always say send more emails. The thing was not here. They were already sending 5 times a week, but the damn issue was that they were running into super micro segments inside of their campaigns. And so what that happened is nobody was eligible to buy. They were sending to these weird segments that just did not have that many people in it, or maybe they did, but they just weren't the most active people. And in this case, what we had to do is we pulled it back to 3 to 4 per week and changed what the emails were actually doing. And so here are some of our campaign numbers. As you can see, we kept the consistency. You know, $1,000, $3,000, $3,000, $4,000, $2,000, $2,000, $4,000, $3,000, so on and so forth, right? We have another one, 4,000. And so we were literally just keeping consistency here, but we were sending the right content. And so what we were doing is teaching and not just necessarily selling. So the problem is that a lot of what they were doing was pushing offers or pushing people that had purchased but didn't purchase again. What we did specifically was we sent to a broader list, or a broader segment in this case, and we leaned heavily on category education. Proper THC dosing, how it compares to alcohol, how to find the right dose for you. All of these things were topics that were getting people to actually be educated on the brand. And then as well, we were breaking all of this stuff into infographics. So things like big blobs of text that they had previously used in their emails, we were using into digestible infographics so people can easily skim, see the main points of the email and be like, okay, this email sounds cool. Let me click the CTA and get onto the site. And so something they had also asked was, well, won't that annoy the list? No, the problem is people unsubscribe from boring, always selling emails and not necessarily from the good ones. And in this case, it has to be educational, engaging, or relevant to where they are specifically in the journey. And so Number 4 was the simplifying segmentation. And so as you can see to this photo to the left here, our audience pockets that we were using was 45-day engaged, so people who had engaged with us in 45 days. And then we excluded active subscriptions. So these are your monthly subscriptions that people get rebilled for. We don't want to be sending to those people as much as possible because that increases the chances of churn. Every single time you send an email to an active subscriber, it reminds them that they are subscribed to your product. Now, I won't go into necessarily the full strategy around that because that wasn't really necessarily the most money making, but I will kind of drop some sauce in the sense that you shouldn't necessarily ghost them entirely. Send about 3 to 2 campaigns per month to them, focusing on just plain text reply to emails. So, hey, reply to this with your favorite flavor, or reply to this email with your favorite emoji, something like that. And then as well, maybe some sort of like community engagement, like behind the scenes email as well with kind of no CTA to purchase or anything like that. So going into obviously change number 4, which was the segmentation, almost every brand overcomplicates this. And to be fair, so did they. So they were sending to people who ordered once, but not in 30 days. And so who also viewed a product, who also added a cart. And so layer on layer, it was just shrinking the audience for no specific reason at all. They thought this was a good strategy. It wasn't. So we stripped it to only the engaged segments. And then this was specifically the segmentation map. So content type, educational campaigns went to our 45-day engaged because these are the people that are most likely going to purchase from us if they haven't already. Engaging email campaigns, stuff to bring them back into engage with us, was about 60-day engaged. So again, expanding that reach a little further. Offers, we were sending to 90-day engaged. So if we had a bundle email going out, we would send it to the 90-day engaged to get that more reach expansion. And then final sell hours, and for the reach, we would send to 120-day engaged. So if we were doing a last minute discount or something that we did for them, we would send it to the 120-day engaged in case we can get some people to come back in. So your most engaged people are most likely to open, click, and buy. It's also going to protect deliverability while still reaching everyone that specifically wants to hear from you. Change number 5. We A/B tested the big levers. And as we can see from this screenshot here of a reporting for the client, the pop-up form improved from 5.5 to 7.5 because we got it from about 3% in less than a week. We also ran an A/B test and found that the lifestyle image was performing better than the product image, which is bringing about 2% more signups. And so deliverability improved in a big way, going from 46 to over 80. 2 of the main changes, again, adding deliverability footer with the invisible plain text, and then sending campaigns to more of an engaged audience. So again, this was stuff that we were actually doing that was working inside of the brand. And so change number 5, A/B test the big levers. Nothing is going to work right out of the gate, so you need to test the highest levers first. Offers, plain text versus designed emails, copy angles, and not your button colors and whatever, this one word and all these kind of things. It's just not going to move the needle significantly and actually drive real revenue, which is what we're going after. And so what the test found, pop-up conversion before was at a 3%. After we had finally done our tweaks, it was about 8%. Then we tested the send time, went from 8% to about 12%. Plain text versus designed emails, some plain text pulled in about 2.5x the revenue of the designed versions of those same exact emails. So it just goes to show the power of a plain text email. Not everything has to be beautiful and nicely with graphics and all that kind of stuff. So what we did, find the winners, roll them out everywhere, and that's how it compounded to $264,000 in 90 days. And I believe that last month was way big as opposed to the first 2 months, again, via A/B testing all of the big levers. So just to recap the 5 changes, we rebuilt the pop-up form to make sure that we were capturing site visitors. Number 2, built out proper flows that added about $80,000 on their own. Number 3, we sent fewer but better campaigns. That number 4, which ties into number 3, we simplified the segmentation to engaged segments only. And number 5, we A/B tested the big levers and rolled out winners everywhere. Now, they didn't need more traffic. This brand didn't need a bigger list, more ad spend. They needed a system that made most of the audience that they already had. And so we've done this for over 25 plus 7 and 8 figure brands. So again, if you want to see how we can potentially do this for you, go ahead and book a free call using the first link in the description. We'll run through what's working, what's not working, our next steps on how we would fix it for you. And if it makes sense, we can bring you on board. I hope you found value out of this video. Don't forget to leave a like and drop a comment. I'll leave all of my social links in the descriptions as well. I drop daily value on anything email marketing. So if you want to go ahead and check those out, you can as well. And I will see you guys in the next one.